Welcome to my corner of the internet. We back talking about episode 6 of Ice Queendom titled Do You Have a Plan? And I'm gonna start on the stairs when Ruby and Yang were on the entrance to Weiss's halt and how it was pretty much it was a double Ouroboros symbol in the shape of an infinity. Now, I know an Ouroboros is a thing, but usually it's only one snake, so the double is kind of confusing me. So I went and looked it up, and the only thing that I could find similar to a double Ouroboros is an amulet in the never-ending story. In the book, the snakes represent a dual nature of a fantasy world and a reality world, which pretty similar to what we have now, obviously with the nightmare being the fantasy world and then the reality being limited. And the amulet was given this kind of power by a character called the Childlike Empress. And I mean, if that doesn't describe Weiss, then I don't know what is. So I don't know if it's a distinct reference to that, but that's the closest thing I could find. So then we move on to the center of Weiss's actual halt, which turns out to be the stage she's done recitals on, which, seeing it seems pretty obvious now. I mean, Weiss practically lived and breathed on that stage, and it's one of the main places where she had to portray this kind of false persona of herself to fit kind of that Alice aesthetic. I mean, we even see that in the White trailer where she's sitting there singing on stage, but it's kind of the duel of her being a huntress as well. So it pretty much makes sense. But after that, we go into fighting Grimm, where Ruby is then pricked by one of the thorns caused by the nightmare Grimm, which Shion has mentioned to not get pricked by, and we see when she actually hurts Grimm, she hurts herself. So I don't remember if Shion has ever mentioned what happens if you die in the dream. They've obviously always pulled them out before that's happened, but I'm wondering if it's like some Sword Art Online thing where if you die in the game, you die in real life. I mean, it seems like it, so I'm probably guessing that's where it's going. But as the rest of RWBY starts losing, let me tell you, the shipping is going crazy in this episode. I mean, like literally, for a majority of the episode, Weiss is sitting there like, what are you doing to my precious so-and-so? Or how dare you betray me? And da-da-da-da. Like, if you're a White Rose fan, you are eating good this episode. It's like Weiss has gone full yandere trying to protect Ruby or get her back or whatever. I mean, I'm not even into shipping that much, and it's just it's off the wall, man. I mean, at first I thought she was talking about Yang and Ruby, just like excluding Blake because she was a faunus, but nah. Then she does a 180 and starts blaming Yang for raising her wrong. I'm just like, she has an unhealthy level of an attachment to Ruby. This early on in Volume 1, I mean, look, if they're pushing White Rose, there you go. It's plain as day. So, because of a pretty bad defeat against the Ice Queen, each member of Team RWBY kind of breaks apart to take some time, think about what happened, strategize a little bit, and they pretty much end up running into one person to talk to for all of them. The one that was probably the most surprising of all was Yang talking with Penny, and I mean, because they don't really talk that much like one-on-one in the actual series. Penny's always more felt like a friend of a friend. That's like she's RWBY's friend, and by product, she's everybody's friend. So I always like seeing these more unconventional pairings. And they pretty much end up having this conversation about how like dreams are ways for people to process new or uncertain information that they come into in life. And obviously, Penny being a robot, she uses the word maintenance instead of more just comprehending, I guess, or working out. But and that does make sense. Weiss has gone through a lot of mishaps since joining Beacon. She didn't get on a team with Pia. She's on a team with Faunus. She's not team leader. Combining that with all of her home troubles, and that's the perfect setup for the instability that the Nightmare Grim feeds off of. So they end up kind of thinking about like, okay, well, how do we change it into some, or change her dream or the nightmare into something that's more beneficial. Give her that maintenance in the dream to help her push through the problems. And I'm not really sure where they're gonna go with it, since they're talking about changing it. And per what Osmond said, it has to be a change that the heart itself would see as beneficial for it to actually happen. So I guess they're just going to try and appeal to the side of the Weiss that wants those changes. Probably release the stuff that's in the cages to help influence the rest of the dream world. That's about what I got for that. Then we have Blake, who, of course, ends up talking to Sun because I don't think she has any other friends to talk to. But they pretty much end up talking about Blake's role in the nightmare, and about, how she's always being chased away, and how the nightmare version of Weiss pretty much just hates Faunus in general. And you know what? I'm glad that she had that little talk, or at least was able to voice those opinions, because I think, like, in the last discussion, I said that it kind of sucked that Blake was just able to brush off everything that she saw in the nightmare regarding Faunus. But Sun, being the cool guy he is able to give Blake another perspective on what role she plays. Still, compared to every other Faunus, Blake looks different. Even though her role has been being chased out, she always comes back. So that kind of shows that, no matter what, Weiss still wants Blake to be her friend. She still wants her to be around in her life. She just still needs to get over that kind of last mental hump so it could be smooth sailing. And that just hasn't happened yet for her. At least that's what the nightmare is trying to say. But given that too, it's kind of doubled as a little resolve for Blake as well, because it's been a thing in the series of her always running away from her problems and leaving them behind. But because of this little talk, she's a little more reinvigorated and is willing to face the problems head on and hopefully be there for Weiss like she wants to. And then you have RWBY talking to Team Juniper about what it means to be precious to Weiss, and if Weiss actually cares about her, while also kind of still not, well, down on herself about being team leader, which honestly I also like, because it's like, I think that's something that hasn't been touched on in the original show enough, because she's, well, in Volume 1 she's 15, and even in the show currently she's still like, what, 17 maybe 18, 17, I don't know, but still, you're making all these decisions that will decide the fate of your friends, your family, pretty much the entire world. So I feel like that would kind of weigh on you a little bit more, to where you'd be questioning yourself like she is now. But through those talks, RWBY is able to get re-energized and ready to go back in with a new strategy that, who would have guessed it, involves her friends being compatible. Because we are bringing in John now, since it seems, since he was already infected, he has basically an immunity to the nightmare grim to where it won't detect him. So he will be either acting as a decoy or as more of a spy, just to get in close so they can cause some distractions. And I know Jean being in there is going to get people heated up, because it already has. But I've said this before, and I will continue saying it. You may not like it, but Jean is a main character. It's not that difficult. I mean, he was like, what, the second person who RWBY met? First at Beacon, at least. Well, actually, she ran into Weiss and Blake first, but outside of the main team, he was like the first person that RWBY met. Not that hard. That's all I'm saying. But But RWBY is ready to find out just how precious she is to Weiss as they hop right back into the nightmare. And that should be about it. I mean, we're heading into the nightmare for what should be our final time, because if not, she dead. Jean's coming with us now, and we're only halfway through the season, so I'm wondering if they're just kind of drag it out more and just kind of pace things slow this time, or if they're gonna give us maybe 1 or 2 episodes once they're finally done with it, outside of just to kind of wrap things up, maybe tease things in the future if they want to take the story somewhere else. I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see, and I'll see you for episode 7. Peace.